So we have Patrick Jones here from our city council, and he has a laundry. Come on. I know it's kind of weird. Chat with you about all the things that are happening in the city, only in the city.
Thank you, Aaron, and thank you for guys for having me here this evening. We've got a lot going on at City Hall, as you've read in the paper. Some of it's true, some of it's a little bit misleading, and some of it I don't believe is accurate. And so I'd like to talk about a few things. First, I do have to run for re-election this year. And I know last week you had Councilman Rick Brazzetti here, and he is a colleague of mine and a friend of mine, and so I am very hopeful that me, Rick, and Gary Cadd pick up those 3 seats come November. Kind of the front line, a few things I wanted to talk to you tonight. Police staffing, games, CalPERS ballot initiative, maybe even Gatsby 45, and then maybe invocations, which we changed at City Hall. So a few things. First, with our police and the staffing, you've certainly seen in the paper a lot of angry people talking about the levels of staffing, and we certainly have had decreased staffing with our police department. And I want to talk to you about how that occurred. If you don't stand around, city council meetings till 2 in the morning, sometimes those things aren't quite as clear. The bottom line is, everyone knows we are in a massive recession. We are in a global recession that is unprecedented. The city has never seen a recession of this magnitude. We've had to cut out $20 million of ongoing cuts in the city of Reading. Now, that may not seem like a lot in the state of California and the nation, but I can tell you, for a city of our size, that is a massive amount of money, and there is no way that we can continue to do the same level and the same types of services with a $20 million shortfall in the general fund. So we go out to our unions. We have 8 unions, 1 unrepresented group, and we ask them to make concessions so that everyone keeps their jobs and that we are fully staffed. So essentially what we're asking for is that your paycheck is going to be reduced a little bit to keep everybody working. Now, if I asked all of you to reduce your paychecks a little bit, you're not going to be happy with that. But that is the reality today. We have to live within our means, and we have to match our spending with our budget. And that's what I have been trying to do. Now, it's not fun and it's not easy. I've got 1,000 angry city workers at me right now. My colleague, Councilman Rick Brazzetti, the same way, and Missy MacArthur, the same. We have been united on not looking at the short-term fix. Short-term Band-Aid approaches has essentially got us into these positions today. We need long-term solutions. And that means we have to be firm, steady, and we have to make sure that the things we do today get carried out. And that's why I'm rerunning, is because I'm going to need more time to make sure that we negotiate in good faith with all of our unions to be able to accomplish all of our goals. If I were king, no one in the city of Reading would be laid off, but each person would have to be working for less. And I think that's appropriate considering the times that we're in. But I don't get to make that decision. No council member does. Those are decisions that are made by the unions. The unions decide, they take a vote, they can take a vote to take that concession and everybody keeps their job, or that no one takes that concession and then it forces council to cut personnel to match the budget. And that is essentially what we've done. Now, you might hear some say that we've made offers of concessions, but the council would not take them. And that is simply not true. We will take any concession from any union at any time, as long as there is no strings attached. We cannot have strings that say we're not going we're going to lengthen the contract, or we're going to guarantee that there'll be no more cuts during the following year, because we cannot make those guarantees. So we have been willing to accept any concession, but they cannot come with strings, and we have not had any concessions of those types. The bottom line is that we've had to make tough decisions, and we've had to cut those personnel because the unions gave us that, and we had to balance the budget. Today in the city of Reading, the budget is balanced. We have a very small reserve, and the city is in good financial shape. 2 years ago, during the last election, we heard some council candidates, not Mr. Cadd, but his opponents, say that the city's in great shape. We don't have to do anything. Everything is fine. That is not the case. We have a struggle ahead of us. We have some very difficult issues ahead of us that we must get right today. If we don't do these things today in a global recession, when are we going to do them? we're not. If we're not going to take the opportunities today to balance a budget for the long term, we're never going to fix these problems. One of the problems, Gatsby 45. This is what we do at the City of Reading. Our workers, when they retire, we pay 50% of your healthcare premium. This is a very high quality healthcare retirement package. We pay 50% of your premium for the rest of your life. Now, when I first got on council 4 years ago, they said, you know, we've got a little problem with that post-retirement healthcare that is now has grown to an unfunded liability that is now in excess of $95 million. Now, it was laid in my lap and said, now go ahead and fix it. You know, that is a serious issue. We should not have been doing it that way. That is not fair to the taxpayers. That is not fair to the people of Reading to have that type of unfunded liability. And so we began to work on it. And what we did is we created a formula that essentially said that for new hires, you will not get this post-retirement healthcare premium paid, that we cannot afford that. And what do you know, that amount of unfunded liability started to shrink. Today it's at 85 million instead of 95 million. And if we can continue on, we will reduce that number to a manageable number that we can in fact afford. I was on the radio a few days ago where we were talking about that on Carl and Linda Bott 1460, and we were talking just about that same issue. And I understand unions don't want to give up those kinds of things because eventually down the road, the haves and the have-nots, they'll vote those things away. But I can't control that. I equate it to like a soldier on a battlefield, and he's been shot, and he's bleeding badly. On the battlefield, you need to stop that bleeding immediately to save his life. If you don't, he will die. You get him to the hospital, you do surgery, and over the course of the next couple of years, you may do more surgeries, but the first thing you have to do is stop that bleeding. And the two-tiered system, or a vested system with the CalPERS or the Gatsby 45, is something that we are doing today, and it's been hard fought, but we will not stop until every union has to pay, or that we do no longer pay for those post-retirement health cares, and we will get that number down. That's what we call Government Accounting Standards B number 45. We call it Gatsby 45. So you'll hear that term, and it has to do with post-retirement health care. The CalPERS retirement, there's been a lot of talk about that. In fact, we have a ballot initiative that we approved in the last council meeting that will go before the voters and ask you if you want the employees to pay for their 7 or 9% of CalPERS contribution. That was guaranteed to the workers of our city over 30 years ago, and today it has ballooned to millions of dollars annually, and we simply no longer can afford it. We did that as a measure to see, one, how the public would respond to that, but also we're doing that today. We can no longer pay the CalPERS contribution. The city pays our own contribution, the employees' portion, but we also pay the employer's portion we pay, and the employees' portion we pay. So we pay the whole entire thing. And we've asked our employees, non-public safety is 7%, public safety is 9%. We've asked them to pay for that to cover the recent cut of $5 million. This particular quarter, we were down $5 million. It was the largest single quarter revenue loss in the history of Reading, California. Now that $5 million decrease was huge. We'd never seen anything like it, unprecedented. And again, these are the times that we are in. We knew that would be a lot to ask all of our unions to pony up a $5 million concession. So one of the things that we did as a council is we took $3 million out of our risk management account. Now, normally we would not do those types of things, but we did it. And we did it to plug a $3 million shortfall in the general fund. Then we asked our unions to pay your CalPERS contribution that would be totaling $2.2 million to make us whole, so that no one within the city of Reading gets laid off. And so far we have had no union doing that. So therefore, as they have not accepted that concession, we are then regrettably forced to make personnel decreases throughout all the departments of the city of Reading. Those are the kinds of things that I have to do and my colleagues have to do. But we are determined to make sure that this city stays strong, fiscally sound. And those are the things that I ran on 4 years ago. And they've been ever and more tougher and tougher to be able to do that.